folks, Mick here. I want to start by wishing you a happy and healthy holiday season. I've been bouncing back and forth between naming this Dev Update 4.5 versus Dev Update 5. I think I'm comfortable with calling it number 5. I'm going to show you Ergo integration completely working. So that means actually looking at Ergo token information and using that within the Blitz game client. I'm also going to show you some new features of the deck builder. So all of this content will be live and available through the Discord. So if you want to play around with the very basic, I wouldn't even call it pre-alpha. If you want to play around in the sandbox build, you can find a download link for Linux, Windows, and potentially Mac, depending on the type of Mac you have in the Discord. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. So at first, I'm just going to open up a brand new session of Blitz just to show you that we're starting from sort of like ground zero here. Log in with one of my test accounts. Chat system's still working, friends list is still working. Nothing's really changed here. What has changed is the deck builder. So before I showed you updates, these new like hover updates and some deck notes and some pretty novel things, I think, in the TCG space as a whole. That being said, today we're going to focus in on a few things in this screen. The first thing I want to draw your attention to are these 4 cards here. So we have a beautiful picture of Charles leaning against a tree. We have Kushti here, just as happy as can be. And we have 2 examples of some Blitz cards. Now, let's just go to old Charles here. And a lot of this UI is still placeholder UI. So just, take it from a technical and functional standpoint, if you will. So if you notice, it says amount 0. Amount 0. These cards are grayed out. If I click hide unavailable cards, they disappear. So clearly I don't own these cards. And if I try to drag it over, it says you don't own this card. All right, well, that's interesting. What if I try to drag one of these cards? Well, you cannot use this card with this general. So the first thing to keep in mind is that the majority of cards in Blitz will be blockchain based, but there will be a large number of them that are free to play because I want anybody to be able to play this game without spending a single cent. So the game will be completely free to play. That being said, I would assume more of the competitive builds, more options mean more competitiveness. So those who want to partake maybe in some of the different builds more suited for certain generals, you might have to get additional cards, which of course would be through purchasing packs on the blockchain. But that being said, sort of just getting off on a tangent here, I want to focus back in on these 4 cards. So these are actually blockchain-based cards. So they're only going to appear as usable if I own them. And so I want to prove that to you. So you just saw the fact that they were grayed out. And so we can all agree that I do not own those cards. I'm going to come to our website. I'm going to log in with that same account that I was using previously. It's going to do its thing. I'm going to click connect. Nautilus is going to pop up. And this is just saying, are you sure you want to connect your wallet address to your Blitz account? I do. And then I want to show you my Nautilus wallet. So within it, I have 4 tokens. I have Gold, WT ADA, WT Erg, and a Kushti token. These are all tokens you can get for free from the Ergo faucet. I'll put a link in the description. Basically, you enter your address in there, and it will send you some amount of these 4 tokens. So now this account is synced up to this Ergo address that contains these 4 tokens. Now, if you were paying attention, if you remember from what we were just looking at, you'll notice some of these cards had the names of these tokens. So maybe you see where I'm going with this. So now that my account has been linked to my blockchain wallet, I'm going to log back in, go back to Deck Builder, go through the exact same steps we did before, and lo and behold, at the top here, I see these cards. So we have good old Charles, and Charles can be moved, Kushti, WT Erg, awesome. But where's that 4th card? Okay, well, that's kind of strange. I own that token. Oh yeah, okay, I have 1,200 of it. Oh, I can't use it because this card isn't applicable for the Margot deck. So at least I know I own it. I just can't use it because I'm not in the right deck. The proper deck, as you see here, is the Old Kingdom. So very quickly, just to prove that to you, if I come into the Old Kingdom, there it is. I can use that card, and of course I cannot use these others. So the short story here is this is like proper, I would say, blockchain integration as far as like a Web 2, Web 3 mix goes. There'll be some fail safes in place to ensure users can't cheat. There'll be some fail safes in place to ensure users can't share accounts, because at the end of the day, a lot of the validation I'm using for this is in a very trusted and robust real-time database called Firebase Real-Time, and it allows me to cross-compare all the values between accounts among some other fancy things to prevent such occurrences from happening. So let's talk about some other updates. Maybe if you remember from the last video, one of the things I wanted to work on was hover effects. And hover effects are a little bit challenging. I'm not going to get into why, but when you're, well, maybe I will get into why. When you're instantiating what are called objects, so these cards are objects, uh, into a viewer, it can be hard to make sure you're looking at the right thing with your mouse, basically. I'll leave it at that, but it was a little challenging. That's now working. And although that might not seem like a big deal, it is, because what this proves is um, the code is in place for fancier things, right? So now it accurately detects when the pointer is going into the card. It accurately detects and does something different when you select the card. Like, so it's green, it's red. So all that is to say, right, is that when I'm ready to add sound effects and fancier animations, it's actually really easy because I know exactly where to put it in the code. So it's a big milestone, maybe more than it might appear. I also took in a lot of feedback from the last play test, so now you can double click cards. Don't ask me to do stuff like this anymore because it's a pain in the butt. I'm kidding. You can ask me to do stuff like this, but it can be challenging to rewrite code if you've already decided on doing it one way. But I do agree that double clicking cards actually feels really good. So I'm glad I did it. You can still single click cards. It's smart enough, to keep up with all that. So the other couple features I want to point out, and these are just, again, placeholder or UI, but you can now sort by name. And you notice it's quite quick, and by level. And you can do the same thing over here, by name, by level. You can also come in here and search and use the chat feature. Now, just by chance, these are already sorted by name and level. Maybe let's try like a 3 or something. There we go. And then you could, of course, hide unavailable. And all this just works together. So it just works at this point. At least for my play testing, things seem like they're all spick and span. And then, if you do something silly, you're like, well, I'm going to try to break the hell out of this, and you try to save your deck like that, it is smart enough when you come back in to reset the views of that deck so that things are legitimate. Now, some of you are saying, well, how much have you actually thought about this? Quite a bit, and I'll give you an example of that. So if you notice, in my deck currently, I have 1, 2, 3, it looks like blockchain cards. I'll sort them by name. So it's a little easier. I'll save it, and one more time we'll go back in just so you can see that it locks that in so that you can use this exact setup in your Blitz matches. Because remember, in Blitz you don't draw cards. It's a very special thing about Blitz gameplay, different than I'm sure anything else you've ever played before. Regardless, let me prove something else to you. So let's just log out again, and let's come back over here. Let's actually disconnect our wallet. Let's disconnect our wallet from our account. We'll sign out. We'll just like close this down. Great. Like it's clean, it's fresh, whatever. We'll sign back in. All right, a little bit of a technical hurdle there. Happens all the time. You just don't get to see it a lot of the time. So what it just said was that I was already logged into my my account. And that's a good thing, because in Blitz, I don't want you to be able to log into your account multiple times, because I don't want you to be able to play yourself and cheat the system. So it's working as intended. The reason it showed up is because I was in two different environments with this account, my build environment and my dev environment. And it sort of had basically a conflict of code there. So I've since fixed that. And now, just so we're on the same page, let me just prove once again that we have still disconnected the Nautilus wallet from this account. So you can see here it's been disconnected. Oh, well, it'd be helpful if I put in my password. We'll sign in. And so in this case, right, if we're thinking back to what just occurred, the reason we saw those cards as being usable is because they were in my blockchain wallet address. So now, because I've disconnected my wallet, those cards shouldn't be usable. And if you remember even further, they were actually in my current deck. So, you know, maybe somebody would try to slip that into matchmaking. The bottom line is you can't. So this was the same deck that we saved. And again, if you remember, those cards were over here. But now when we go back into this deck, they're no longer here. And that's because I'm checking for this every time you open your deck. And if your blockchain wallet has changed, in basically its tokens, since you're well, not necessarily everything about your tokens. Basically, if you still own or don't own a card, I'm keeping track of that. So you can see, because I don't own these cards or my address has been unlinked, these cards move over to my available cards. So of course, Blitz doesn't think I own them anymore because my wallet address has been disconnected. I feel like I kind of like garbled that up, but you get my point. The blockchain integration's working, and it's pretty intelligent. So that being said, clearly I am tired. Clearly, well, maybe not so clearly, but hopefully you walked away feeling a little bit more excited about Blitz's progress. Again, if you want to play around with this game build, just come on into the Discord and you can download the version that's suitable for your operating system. Try to break it. Tell me what's wrong. Give me feedback in the Discord. Every little bit helps. Appreciate you all. Again, have a wonderful holiday. See ya.